Button has been smashed.
Oh boy.
I'm good.
Raise your hand if you got lost or anything like that. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Dang it, you restocked the animal.
That's supposed to be a good thing, Elizabeth.
Well, okay. It's going to be too far away. It has to be within reach of him not moving his elbows off of his body or something.
There is a
He
required.
needs to be able to reach it with a T-Rex arm. So.
Yes, I had to.
This is a small arms store, so.
It's gotta be within elbow reach of not overextending his elbows.
I usually like make this spot, and that's too far away.
That's too far. If I have to reach that far, it's weight on the.
Wow.
That's.
In our defense, it is bad form to fully extend
Lock
that
the
arm,
elbows.
To lock the
That's
elbow.
true.
You're gonna cause tennis elbow in me.
Yeah, so we gotta get that
Can't have
good
that.
bend. A good isometric pressure grabbing coffee.
Oh boy. What's isometric mean?
Oh, what is it?
Spell it.
Hell no. I'm just throwing out $75 words because I do what I want.
Well, it is Tuesday, so.
Exactly.
Did you just bring that back out, or did you leave that there from yesterday? Holy crap! I'm glad we did it live.
So what else I left out here was my plate from my breakfast. And when I came out here with my class yesterday, I was showing them ammo,
You're like,
and I was
oh,
like,
there's my breakfast.
disregard. It was just sitting up here with my plate and my fork, and my crumbs.
Vincent, is your classroom all set up? You got a few minutes. You can hang out with us. So, good freaking morning, Gordon. Good freaking morning.
Oh, hello, good sir.
We're out of order, Vincent. Shoot.
Sorry, Peggy.
Bleep that out, Charles.
Hey, we're live. There's no.
I know, but for
no
the YouTubes
bleeps.
later.
No bleeps. No. Oh, dang it. It reminds me of something from Spaceballs, but I don't remember the.
Oh gosh.
I don't remember the whole
Spaceballs.
thing. Spaceballs, that is cinematic genius.
It is.
It's such a great Spaceballs.
You say so.
I ain't found. Frank, good freaking morning, sir.
So, movies like that are funnier when you watch other people who enjoy that movie because of their reaction to it. My mom's the same way with Austin Powers. It's like Austin Powers is funny, but watching her reaction to it is way funnier. So. That's with me and Bubble Boy. Look at wow, that was full extension. That was bad.
That was way too far away, and I had to put my armpit in Vinny's face to get to my coffee. My coffee. So what are we
Good
talking
morning,
about today,
Frank.
Liz?
We have to say good morning to Frank first. Good morning, Frank.
He already
I already did that.
You did?
Yep. You're not paying attention, as usual.
Surprise.
Surprise, surprise,
No
surprise.
one saw that coming.
I feel attacked.
What we're talking about today is accessorizing.
That's the reason.
Should you
And
what
upgrades.
should you accessorize your gun with? Should you just upgrade your gun? What does upgrade mean? Does upgrade mean buying a whole new? I don't know why, but I really want to just smack you in the back of the head for some reason. I really just want to go boop.
Boop. Yeah, it's a boop. Oh my gosh.
What does upgrading mean? Is that buying a new barrel for your gun, or is that buying a whole new gun? So Vin and I were having a discussion over me upgrading
Oh right.
my gun,
Oh my gosh.
and I'm not upgrading my gun.
It's a new gun.
Buy a new gun.
It's a new.
But
okay,
it's the same
so
gun, but just a
let's say
little
this.
different.
So if I decided today that I was buying an SD40,
All right, now you got to bring up my childhood.
Now we're gonna.
is that an upgrade? It's a new gun. Is that an upgrade over my shadow systems?
All right,
No,
hold
no.
up, hold up. We're
Yeah.
gonna get
I'm
this.
just saying.
We're gonna get this deeper.
Yeah.
We're gonna get this deeper because do you think it's an upgrade?
No.
Exactly. So
it's your truth.
you don't think
And
it's an
it's favorite
upgrade.
line.
So yeah, that's a downgrade. But if you told me like, hey, this shadow doesn't fit my hand right and it's weird and I hate it, but I love this gun, so I'm going to get this gun, so I'm upgrading this
He
gun.
upgraded to the 40.
He upgraded. Even though we could agree that gun is less than good. Less than good.
Less than.
Less than good. It makes the vein in my neck come out when I think about that gun. But less than good. You think it's an upgrade because your other gun is not as good in your mind. So it could be considered an upgrade even though it's not.
What?
How many SD40s have you owned, Elizabeth?
None.
Okay. I have owned 0. Vincent, how many SD40s have you owned?
Why do we got to bring this up?
Oh. Did I just...
I sold it for a Mosin because it was awful. Sold it for a Mosin.
Okay,
It was awful.
Okay,
So
so
bad.
we're talking about the Smith & Wesson SD40.
Yeah, and I upgraded to
I
a
know.
Mosin.
I'm helping people out, people who don't know
Yeah,
this.
people don't know.
That's true.
I got beat up a little bit yesterday via email for using too many industry words.
Yes.
Oh, that's fair.
I'm going to get beat up again today for.
I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah, yes.
I'm trying to help you out. The Smith & Wesson SD40 VE, it's a similar style to a Glock, but Smith & Wesson's
They got sued for it.
awful version. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's in 40. It also comes in 9. It has an awful trigger. It's very inconsistent. I have seen that type of firearm break any or more than any other handgun I've ever encountered. I've seen a lot of them in training.
A lot of people get them. Why?
They're
Very
inexpensive.
They're inexpensive.
And I bought it for one
Hey,
reason.
I need to clarify
Yeah.
something. Everybody is at a certain place, so you spend money on what you need to spend money on. If I were to make a suggestion, instead of choosing an SD40VE, buy a used Glock or a used M&P or some used better option, like more reliable option. Plenty of people have bought them and have no issues with them. I'm not going to say that, but I have seen a lot of them
yeah.
come through training, and
They're
they're
tough
pretty.
to shoot well with.
Yeah.
Their triggers are terrible.
They're rough,
Yeah,
but
They're playing life on hard.
yeah.
for sure.
But you do what you gotta do. Okay, so accessorizing. That was buying a new gun isn't necessarily, that's not accessorizing. However, if you're whose side of the fence do I want to be on here? Uh-oh, his boss is looking at me.
Who's drawing lines
Stop
right
it.
now? Who's drawing lines right now?
So Phil has an MR920L. Oh God, I don't even know if I want to try to go down the path of what this is. So it's a 4.5-inch barrel with a compact grip, so a 15-round grip. So the slide in the upper is longer than the going down the rabbit hole. So the MR920P is, oh God, why don't you explain it? Because
So the
there's too many details.
yeah MR920L
I want to go get one.
has the exact same slide length as an MR920P. It's just the MR920L has a little bit longer barrel. The MR920P has a little bit shorter barrel, but with a comp on the end. So a compensator, which helps deflect gas pressure and push the muzzle down. Make a decision. I already made my decision. So the discussion this morning was, Vinny said, well, you're upgrading your gun. I said, no, I'm not. I'm going from an MR920 to an MR920. He says, but the new one has a comp. My MR920L has a comp, a thread-on compensator, so you screw it onto the end of the barrel, which is a bigger comp. The MR920P has a smaller comp, so I would argue that I'm downgrading.
And I would argue it should still be an upgrade because is it annoying to have to take your comp off of your threaded gun?
No.
You don't think it's annoying to have to thread the thing off, or you could have a quick detach. So a can that you thread onto your gun is easier than a QD
No,
mounted.
I would, yeah.
Your new comp is a QD mounted comp.
Yes.
It's a quick detach makes it easy.
But it's smaller,
it is small.
so it's less effective.
That's
So it's-
debatable.
I know it is.
Just,
It really is.
Just
It's-
because the comp is larger doesn't guarantee that
That's-
it's more
I
effective.
agree with that. I'm just arguing for the sake of arguing.
True story.
But
No, we never. We would never admit that.
So I'm not upgrading. I'm making a lateral move.
Okay,
I'm duplicating, really.
I could agree that it's a bit of a even trade.
Yeah.
But what made you want to get the new gun in the first place? Because there's something about your current gun that you're not a fan of.
No, I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was Brian Hill.
His fault.
Yep. He said that if you have a gun that you shoot and you train with, you should have 2 of them. And I said, okay.
I said, okay.
No, don't say that. I don't want to buy 2 staccatos.
You need another staccato. I was just going to say
buy
that.
2 of them.
You need another one because you're wearing stuff out in that, and you got to have 2 as 1. So if you have 1, you have none.
You're bad for my bank account. Sorry, Peggy.
It's your bank account, not mine.
I didn't do it.
Lou says 5x5 is about to wreck this group and outdoing each other. Yes, we are
100%.
definitely for sure. I mean, I'll try to I will try to chase Vinny and his 2.7 or whatever the hell it was, but that's going to be a feat for me to get there. I don't know if that's going to happen, and if it does, I'll get lucky.
You'll nail it.
I'll be lucky. So anyway, come on back in. Where did you go?
I tried to find an MR920L and an MR920P. We have the L, we don't have the P.
Yeah.
So
They're exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
Size-wise, exactly the same. So they fit in the same holster. Now, my MR920, here is a downside of my gun with a comp, is because now I need a Glock 34 sized holster. I need a different size holster because the comp is bigger and it's on the end of a 4.5-inch barrel. So that is a downside of running that.
he says make a decision.
He was talking to you.
A while ago.
That popped up just as you walked away because you couldn't decide how to explain something.
That's valid. It's like, wait, do I start here or here?
So yes, I have a new MR920P coming. I have made a decision halfway about my optic. I'm going with the EPS. I just still haven't completely decided if I want the 6 MOA dot or the 2 MOA dot.
We're not doing red dot stuff today.
I know,
but
it is
that's an accessory.
It is an accessory.
It's not.
So
I need all the butt kicking. I'm not making decisions. So bring it on.
Anyway, so I don't think that my gun purchase is an upgrade.
Well, it is because you are making accommodations for the size of it to fit in a different holster.
Okay,
It's an upgrade because it's going to be... I know. I try to just, let it go, just, whoop, pretend that it...
Why am I the only one standing here? Where did you guys go?
It just got worse.
Yes.
So, it's an upgrade for you because now it's not as complicated to carry.
Okay. I can't completely argue it. I need to justify it to myself. But so what about accessorizing? What does that look like? Is that grip tape on your gun?
So
It could be.
why does somebody buy a Shadow Systems and not a Glock? Because the accessories were put on at the factory. The upgrades were put on at the factory.
It's an upgraded Glock already.
It's an updated Glock.
So you have a factory gun instead of a factory gun that you added parts to. Truly, I like them better for several reasons. Same size gun, all that jazz, substantially lighter. I carry mine a lot, so that's an advantage. It does have upgraded parts in it, better barrel. Most importantly to me, better optics mount. That's the biggest reason for me. I'm not a big fan of the MOS. I just am not. I like it that you can put an optic on it, but I just think that we see them fall off a lot. I think it's very easy. I think if they're put on completely correct, they do well. But I think it's very easy for people to think they're mounting them correctly, and them not.
And it's nice that Hollow Sun was able to fill in a gap there with the direct mount.
Yeah, the SCS.
Yeah. So that is nice. You don't have to use an adapter plate with that.
But still, the Shadow Systems mount is substantially
Yeah.
different and substantially better.
Okay.
My
So,
opinion.
yeah, I agree. But what other? So let's say you don't have a Shadow or whatever. It doesn't matter what gun you have. But what are some things that you can add to it to make it better? Well, you think it makes it better. Sometimes it doesn't make it better. Sometimes it can make it dangerous and unsafe, especially if you don't know what you're doing. It could make the complexity of putting it in a holster more difficult, like flashlights and lasers and all those sorts of things. So this whole store
Optics,
is
truthfully, sometimes optics make that harder.
and optics are an accessory. They're
Yep.
becoming less and less of a considered accessory because they're becoming so much more prevalent, and a lot of guns are being sold with them on it already. But that is an extra thing that you add to the gun, so it is definitely an accessory, which means you get 10% off of it whenever you buy a gun. So, the day you buy a gun.
Selfish plugs.
Yes, yes, selfish plug. But so what other things? So you can add flashlights and lasers at the underneath of your accessory rail. Huh, it's called an accessory rail. How funny. So what complexity comes from that?
A lot.
Well, yeah. How to use it. I was just having this discussion. Did I talk about it yesterday? I can't remember if I talked about it a little bit yesterday or not, but a discussion online about weapon mounted lights versus not having weapon mounted lights. And I personally am not the biggest fan of them for the home defense gun or the EDC gun, because people think, well, that way I can identify my target. Well, if you're using the light on your gun to decide if the target is a threat or not, you're wrong.
You're already pointing your gun at it.
And yeah, Liz, you dropped something. And it's annoying me because I can see it.
So sorry.
So it adds a lot of complexity in the use. Do you know how to use that thing? When to use it? How to operate it? Can you actually operate it while you're operating the gun? And all that stuff. And then it adds a level of complexity to finding a holster. Assuming you were talking concealed carry or even outside the waistband type stuff for classes or competitions or whatever. If you have a more obscure pistol, it's going to be really hard to find a holster that'll work for that and a certain light. If you have some obscure light, it's going to be almost impossible to find a holster for it. A lot of, especially outside the waistband, some inside the waistband also, index off of the flashlight. So if you have a common flashlight, a TLR1 or an X300 or a TLR7, something like that, common flashlights, it is easier to find holsters that will accommodate that light with a range of size of handguns. But it's definitely a complexity that most people overlook.
I have one of my least favorite accessories that a lot of people don't quite understand is the gas pedal.
Yeah.
So there's a little nubbin shelf thing that you can add to the side of your gun.
Nobody can hear you right now.
That's okay.
You can just stop talking.
Okay. Trying. Can't help it. So, on the side of your gun.
Oh, you have to show the internet. They'll be upset.
Yeah, they'll be upset.
You gotta show the internet. We'll get yelled at. Alright, you're still getting yelled at, but you're good now.
That's okay. Alright, so a lot of times people will add these little devices here on the side of the frame, which is implying that you put your thumb on top of it to help with recoil. So you tighten down with your support thumb to help with recoil. It's an awful idea. Mostly because you're not doing proper technique if you need a gas pedal. We don't want to engage our thumbs like that. But it also changes the ability to holster it a lot. There are holsters that can accommodate those things, but I will tell you that is a crutch that you're giving yourself, and you're doing yourself a disservice with your shooting abilities, and to manage the recoil of the gun with a better grip, a proper grip, rather than adding an accessory like that to basically give you a crutch.
Can I add something to you as a positive to those? Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't like the driving your thumb into it, but it does give you a consistent index point that you know that you can place your thumb. And if you do, if your grip is right and your thumb is sitting there, well, your thumb's not sitting there, your grip's goofed up.
Now, what is your way of giving people an index point? Because indexing off the gun is not ideal for proper efficiency.
Correct. Proprioceptive indexes are better, right? Where you use your body.
What's a proprioceptive index?
Proprioception is that you understand where your body is in space. So when I try to demonstrate this to people, I'll usually ask people to just touch their ears, right? And then when they touch their ears, I'm like, how many of you can see your ears? And that's usually what happens. Is Vinny is in there trying to
find it.
see.
I don't have ears. I can't see
know
it.
where they are, right?
I don't have ears.
You
I can't see it.
So you don't have.
If I can't see it, I don't have them.
Not there.
It's not there.
What?
Shit.
I just-
I was gonna say something terrible, but I stopped myself.
I'm proud of you. That would have been terrible.
I
Damn,
was-
that would have been funny. It makes me happy I know exactly what you were thinking about without saying it.
I don't know. I can't catch that one. I tried.
I really want to say it, but I'm not
No,
going to.
out of the internet.
Just say it.
Don't say it.
Don't say it.
Oh,
Vinny says don't say it. Don't say it.
I say don't say it.
we were just going to talk about addicting. But
You can't see it. It doesn't exist.
he doesn't have addict you anymore.
Vinny.
Can't believe I just said that.
The
on
internet is not going to have any idea.
Oh,
You're talking about a Richard.
I don't even know what the hell I was saying anymore. Oh, proprioceptive indexes.
Yes.
So, yeah, indexing off of your own body is much easier.
You can't get it out of your head.
No,
now,
I
can you?
cannot. Rather than an inanimate object that is not attached to your brain. So that's really what that is. So proprioceptive indexes are better than tool indexes.
Now, just to be the devil's advocate, because I like arguing. Race guns in the USPSA at the highest level.
Do they
Guess
have
what all
gas
of them
pedals?
have?
Yeah.
All of them have gas pedals.
Yes.
That's
You'd be an
interesting
idiot
to
without
me.
it.
Yeah.
You'd be an idiot without
So-
it on there.
Well, that's interesting because,
Yep.
Obviously we've learned this from very, very high level competition shooters. As,
Yep.
like Jedi, he's USPSA Grandmaster. So does he use a gas pedal?
No.
So I'm not, I don't want to I'm not at that level. So I'm not going to try to pretend that I can shoot like these competition shooters that use gas pedals. So completely remove that part. But
Yep.
if I look at someone like Jedi and see how well he can shoot without one with proper grip technique, does that mean that they could be better if their technique was better on their grip?
Maybe, but just think of how many different grips there are.
Yeah.
Right? How many different correct grips are. There's a bazillion of them.
There is.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you can make it easier to make the grip correct, or if you could have something that's a crutch, right? A crutch that allows your grip to be close but still get a high level of performance because of this extra thing, well, that's a benefit. You can spend less time trying to build the grip correctly and running the gun. It's just like we say all the time, you got to give up something to get something.
Sure. Yeah.
There's
Everything's
always-
a sacrifice.
There's so many
Eugene, good
different
morning.
options, and it's just.
And Martin.
And
Hi, Martin.
Lou, I definitely agree. Hand size too. For
Yep.
example, when it comes to hand size, one of the most, I'm gonna call it prolific examples of a
Heard a lot of
That's
big
another
words.
big
I know,
word.
right? You're welcome, Peggy. For the weird grips, but work well.
Like
We all know
Lena.
who I'm talking about.
Like Lena.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lena Michalak. Her grip is, in most
Garbage.
cases, garbage and weird, according to the standards that
Yeah.
most people have.
But she's a
but she
world
runs the crap out of it, and she's a world champ.
Yeah.
So it's hard to argue with that logic. But I've seen her on plenty of interviews before talk about she doesn't recommend her grip to people.
Yeah.
It works for her, and it's a matter of figuring out what works for you. So it's
But that's
It's a
not an
struggle.
accessory. But I guess where my point comes from is now that you brought up the high level competition shooters, I can definitely value that that as an accessory for something
Yep,
in that
works.
case. As long as like your general concealed carrier understands that it's like to me, for something like that, unless you really understand the sacrifices you're making, again, I just want it to be an educated decision, just like the laser. You know, like if you choose to put a laser on your gun because it helps you see something, or you know, you feel more confident shooting your gun, or whatever, you make that decision for you. Just as long as you know the sacrifices and you still train to have good technique, that's going to be the most advantageous for you.
There's always a trade-off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing's ever perfect. It's just a matter of figuring out what works for you, and having what I like to call in all my classes is a reason why you choose what you do and get good at it.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, why do you use this? And you're like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Internet
Are
told me
you good at it? You know? What's the point? Have a reason why you use the thing and get good at doing it.
I will typically tell people very similarly, like if I'm trying to explain to them, I'm trying to correct their grip to what I want to see in class, and they are arguing with me, well, I've been doing it this way for years and I prefer to do it this way. Well, that's fine if you prefer it, but can you show me the performance? If you can perform well, then I really don't care what you do, because that's ultimately what I want, is for you to get good hits, to have good speed or whatever. But if I change your grip, and after changing your grip you shoot better, and then you say, I like my way better,
that's comfort.
That's you just being hard-headed, stubborn person.
Hi, Dennis.
What up, Dennis?
So what about aftermarket triggers?
Yes and no.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, it depends
yes
a lot.
And no. It just depends.
In what respect? We're talking EDC.
Yep.
Right? I have no problem with aftermarket triggers. I think that aftermarket triggers can, again, depending on the trigger and the setup. There's a lot more to the trigger than just the physical trigger piece.
Shoe.
Right? Yeah, what's called the shoe. You could replace that and the trigger bar and not replace springs and disconnectors or any other stuff, and have a different experience than if you replace all these little parts. I think if you get to a point where the trigger press, pull, push, whatever the hell you want to call it, is cleaner, but the weight is the same, I like it.
Diva.
High five. 1 pound pull or bust.
I mean, you might as well. Why are you using such a heavy trigger?
That's so funny.
So, at which average trigger pull?
For striker fire guns, I'd say 4.5 to 7.5 pounds. 4 to 7.
I would say
4 to
4.5
7.
to 6, but
Yeah,
somewhere in
5 to
there.
6,
That's pretty typical. You'll see a lot that'll say, 3-pound trigger press. It's getting a little sketchy for me for an EDC gun.
Yeah.
We have played with triggers in our office and literally bounced the gun on the ground and the striker fell. Right? That's
Terrifying. That's one of the reasons why this is my own personal choice. I do not have the confidence to put an aftermarket trigger in my gun, just because the knowledge isn't there as deeply with the mechanics, and I'm familiar with the mechanics of the gun, but I just don't feel confident changing out my trigger. I'm fine with my factory trigger on my Shadow. I don't prefer it on a stock Glock or anything, or my SIG. I definitely don't like my trigger on my SIG, but I'm happy with my Shadows.
There's something to be said for the manufacturer who's spending lots of dollars and lots of time researching, trying to make this good and safe. Now there's also the lawyer factor that goes in there that takes some of the good away and making it more safe. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think, as a non-mechanical engineer person, that you can get a nicer trigger with it still being safe.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of even just the factory triggers. You go from a Glock to a Shadow. Well, the Shadow trigger is very similar, but it's different and it's nicer.
Yep.
It's still a factory trigger. It's still totally safe. Mechanic, that's depending on the model, relatively inexpensive gun. They've got some great striker fired triggers.
The PDP
Walther.
is my favorite.
PDP, yeah.
Oh yeah,
They're freaking nice.
fantastic, especially the performance.
Yeah. So
version.
there's something to be said there, and when you start tinkering because you know better, and you're taking this trigger shoe and mating it with this trigger bar and using this spring and this striker spring and all that jazz. Oh, Vincent.
Shit.
you gotta go.
It's unfortunate.
See you later. Bye.
But,
Poof.
oh wait, the camera's really low. I can't just.
So yeah, I agree. I changed out the trigger in my Shadow. Loved it. Great trigger, and I had problems.
Yep.
I actually broke the. I say I broke it. It broke. The trigger safety actually broke. The little dingus on the trigger broke. Sent it in. They replaced it. Got a new trigger. And then what was the problem I was having? It's been a while.
Slide stop.
So I broke my slide stop on my gun, and then I tried to switch it, and then that trigger did not like. I was having all sorts of problems with an aftermarket slide stop and that trigger. And I'm still waiting. I thought that was Dan. Oh, there's Dan. Still waiting on a slide stop for my gun.
I see. I was like, why does Dad matter?
But yes.
Hold.
Since when? No, that you put a plate, EPS plate. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. Are they back there? Sweet. Okay. But I was having some problems with it, and I'm trying to figure it out, playing a game, right? And I got to the point where I was carrying that gun every day, and I got to the point where I was like, nope, I'm taking this out. For some reason, I think that my slide was locking.
It was locking.
Open.
It was something during your mag change. You had like 3 separate problems.
Yeah.
It was like the trigger safety messed up.
Yeah, so then I got replaced.
Slide lock got messed up, and then there was something with the reload. It was in between reloads.
Yeah, it's like when I got 1 or 2 rounds left in the magazine, my slide was locking open or something.
Yeah, but I think it still had to do with your slide lock.
Yeah, it had to do with the slide stop, but the way, I don't know, it was weird.
Yeah.
But put the factory trigger back in, and everything works the way that it should right now.
Just go to show you that the quality control that the manufacturers do at the factory is very specific, and when you start manipulating things, the reliability can diminish. It all
absolutely.
depends on your.
So if this is a competition gun, and it can still cause problems, right? If
Sure.
you go to put your gun away and the gun goes bang, that's bad.
That's bad.
The consequence typically for an outside the waistband holster is not going to be as high as an inside the waistband appendix holster. Or you're sitting down driving your car, whatever, you get in a car wreck and all of a sudden the gun goes bang. That's a totally different story. And you have a different use case for a competition gun, right? Your fractions of a second really, really, really matter over the course of a day. So I get it. I understand it. What about legal consequences of changing your trigger?
Definitely. I've heard mixed things on this.
I argue that all the time. People say, absolutely, a lawyer's going to destroy you. A lawyer's going to try to destroy you over everything.
Anything.
The fact that you own a gun,
Yeah.
they're going to try to destroy you on.
How dare you carry this weird ammunition?
Yeah.
It's really light and whatever.
It allows you to carry 8 billion rounds in your gun
Yes.
because it's so much lighter.
So light. They'll find anything.
They'll find anything. So
You got to be able to articulate that it made you a safer, more accurate.
Yep. You can be more sure of your target. You can be more certain that you would only be hitting the bad guy than if you had this other trigger. Yada yada yada. Not going to go down that rabbit hole, but that's something that people often consider. And do I think it's a worthy consideration? Sure. I think it's something just like anything. You have to try to think of both sides of how it can work to your benefit or to your detriment.
And so understand, make it a thoughtful process, especially when it comes to something that manipulates the mechanical aspect of your gun. Because if you were to ever use that in an encounter, you're going to have to articulate why these upgrades
Changes
were made. So understand your why. For one, just make sure you're not spending money unnecessarily, and that you can also defend your choice if it came down to it. So what other accessories?
That's what I was going to ask you is what else? I mean, I think of sights. When I think of accessorizing your handgun, I think of sights. I think of grip tape. I think of or stippling, right? If you want to go a more permanent route.
So dive into that a little bit, because that's people might not realize that's a thing. Yeah.
Gun still unloaded. So you can get look at the internet. There you go.
Okay.
You can get grip tape. I mean, you could just use skateboard tape and just cut it and put it on here, right? You can. Some companies, I'm drawing a freaking blank on the name of it.
Talon grips.
Talon grips. They're really cool. They make stuff specifically for guns that sits on here and wraps around, and it can be very aggressive. It could just be kind of a tacky, rubbery feel, or you can stipple it, where you take this texture. This is stippled, right? This is melted into the grip, and you can make that more aggressive, or you could sand it down and make it less aggressive. You could, make all of this where it's nice and smooth right now. You can make all that very aggressive. That's what stippling is. And I tend to prefer a much more aggressive texture on my handguns than smooth. Some people don't. Some people don't like the, I'm not the hugest fan of the M&P 2.0. I think it's a fine gun. I just don't, it doesn't work great for me. I was a huge fan, and one of the reasons why I had one, of their grip texture.
Yeah,
a lot of
aggressive.
people did not like it when it came out because it was super aggressive. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. That's my preference.
There's also, sometimes your gun can come with little accessories with it, like the ability to change your back strap, the back of the grip of the gun. This is actually one of the reasons why I like Shadow so much, is that the back strap here, unlike a Glock, this piece actually changes the angle of the
You're good.
of the palm swell that goes in your hand. The palm swell is this piece here that kind of sticks out into your hand and changes a lot of the times the way you present the gun and just hold on to the gun. But on a Glock, this tends to be like a little more rounded here, so it fits into your hand a little bit more. I don't prefer that. I like changing the grip angle and keeping it more straight like that. One of the reasons why I don't like the little baby Glocks, the 43 and the 43X and the 48, is because that palm swell is so substantial, and it puts my finger at a weird angle on my trigger, and it pinches my finger underneath the trigger, and it's just not an ideal situation for my hand. This is one of the reasons why Glock is either like, people either love or hate Glocks, is a lot of times it's the grip angle of the gun. Glocks have a very specific grip angle, and that palm swell tends to, people don't like that a lot of times. So that's one of the reasons why I like the Shadow so much. But these are interchangeable, and the gun comes with three of them, and they're really easy to change out. So that is kind of a way you can accessorize there.
So on Glock, they call it small, medium, large, because it really just changes the size of the grip. On Shadow, they call them low, medium, and high. Right, so it's because it changes how the gun presents. It is really small, medium, large, but they do call them low, medium, and high.
This is another guy, the flared magwell.
Yep.
That helps with reloads. You actually specifically enjoy the MR920L with the flared magwell here because it fits your hand so well. It kind of pulls your hand up into the back of the gun.
So for me, when I grip the gun, you can see that it's putting pressure on my pinky, right? So this fits my hand, what I would consider perfectly, right? This skirt, as we've been calling it lately,
Yes.
the skirt puts pressure on my pinky, and then my middle finger is up tight against the trigger guard there, and it just fits my hand really well. I don't have any slop in there at all. This was the reason why I purchased the MR920L over the DR920, which is just a little bit longer grip. This, for me, fits my hand perfectly. So the loss of 2 rounds was way worth it to me for that grip to fit my hand that way.
Mag catch, it's another big one. Awesome upgrade for a lot of people. So you have the ability to reach this without breaking your grip. Sometimes you can get them to stick out a little bit more. It's actually very helpful for a Glock because Glocks, you have to have a tendency to have to push way out here on the front edge of it to really get good, push it in well enough to get the magazine to fall out. So that's another accessory that a lot of people will upgrade. You can accessorize your magazines. You can get magazines that have weighted base plates on it that either increase the capacity of your magazine and weight it a little bit so it falls free whenever you hit your magazine catch. You can get different slide stop levers. So there's actually kind of an interesting one for Glocks that you can get. I'm sure you could get it for other models too or other manufacturers, but you could simply just get a bigger version of this to where you can reach it easier with your thumb and be able to use it faster. You can also, a lot of times when people shoot Glock, they have such a high grip that they will hold this down on their last round so they won't get that, the slide to lock back after the last round.
That's Vinny. Vinny does
Yeah.
that a lot. Vinny doesn't get slide lock a lot because he's got such a high aggressive grip, good grip. And it doesn't take much pressure to touch that to keep it from going up. And people often, a lot of times when it happens, people think their gun's broken.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my gun's not working, his slide's not locking.
It is a malfunction if you run your gun completely empty. You should
Yes.
reload it before it's empty, and you won't even have to deal with that. However, there's slide stop levers that they're kind of weird, but they like bring it up higher up onto the slide, so you can have that really high grip without manipulating the slide stop lever. So that is an option too. Threaded barrels. That's, I mean, like this barrel here, it came on the gun. It's bronze or gold or whatever. That's an aesthetic thing.
Why would you want a threaded barrel?
A couple reasons. Threaded barrel can be used to thread a suppressor on it. Also a compensator, which is what you have on yours. You just unscrew this, add a compensator on there. Compensator diverts the gases upward, so it kind of helps keep the muzzle down while you're shooting to mitigate recoil a little bit. We talked a little bit about sights. You can replace your iron sights on the gun for relatively inexpensive. You can get higher ones to be able to accommodate seeing them through the window of an optic. You can get sights that glow in the dark. They're night sights. They have like this one here. This way. This one here has, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's kind of got like a fluorescent around it, and then in the middle it has a little darker dot that actually glows in the dark called tritium. Tritium is a radioactive isotope that will glow for 10 plus years. And it doesn't require light to charge it or anything. It just glows all the time. So that's nice to be able to see in the dark in case you don't have the ability to see your sights. There's fiber optic sights. There's
Good morning, Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey. So lots of accessories.
Lou brings up a good one.
Holster.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
That is a very often overlooked accessory when it comes to a handgun.
Yeah.
There's very few. If I'm gonna buy a gun just because, like, I've always wanted one of these things and I finally see it and I have the means to buy it right now, I don't necessarily care if I can get a holster for it, right? It's just something I'm gonna shoot for fun or whatever. If it's something I plan on using in any sort of capacity for self-defense, or for training or for competition, you gotta have a holster consideration, right? And that can be complicated sometimes. Obviously, if you stick with the big major manufacturers, Glock, Smith, Sig, so on and so forth, that's easier. But when you get to some of the more obscure guns, it can be harder to find something. As a case in point, Sig and their infinite wisdom with all their infinite number of freaking variations of a handgun, they have this P365, which is great, and it's like taking the gun world by storm. And then they come out with the XL version, great, still fits in the same holsters. Then they come out with another P365 version that does not fit in anything that was made before that, with the X Macro. Thank you, Sig, for your awesomeness.
Number one accessory sold in our building.
Help Lula. Speed loader.
Speed loaders.
Yeah.
If you think semi-autos are not for you because you hate loading magazines, please get one of these. Do yourself, trust me, it is not worth sacrificing a revolver for you're not wanting to load magazines. You can load them well in advance. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, but get one of these things. It'll save your thumbs, and it really helps you load your magazines way faster, way less effort. I always make the joke, every Marine in this building has one. We have a lot of Marines here. They don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Use the speed loader, and it's amazing. They're like $35.
So Lou brings up another good point, magazines, right?
Yep.
That's where I was going to go to. He's saying a struggle. That could mean a couple different things. It could mean that getting freaking magazines, as we're talking about Sig, that and
Expensive.
freaking Sig magazines. They are expensive. I always tell people that I think you should have 10 mags for your gun. I've had my 365 now for how long? I don't know,
Just a couple
6
months, yeah.
maybe, 8 months. I don't know. I think I'm up to 6 mags. I tell people like, hey, your gun comes with 2. Buy one more at the time of the buying the gun. A couple months later, you buy one more. A couple months later, you buy one more. That's what I've been doing for this because they are not inexpensive.
No.
They are stupid expensive. But because it's a gun I want to train with and I want to use often, I like to have extra mags. And I think you should too. Again, if it's a gun that you're buying just because for fun, I think the 2 magazines it comes with is fine. But
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons why I love Glock so much is because, and Shadow, is that the Glock mags are inexpensive, they're super reliable, and does it take Glock mags?
Yes.
So that's real. Another big one, depending on your situation, but I think any gun owner should have a way to store their gun in a locked container.
Yep.
Even if you don't have kids, even if you don't have other curious people that can get you your gun. What if you go on vacation? Like, don't just leave your gun sitting out on your nightstand.
What'd you do this weekend?
Oh, yeah, we went to the lake, and I brought my gun with me, but I needed a place to store it. We had kids in the house and things like that, so I brought my gun safe with me. It's
I brought
just
the same thing.
Yeah.
I have one of those, and that's what I brought in the house with me to put my gun away after we got there.
Yep. I had a little cable that come with it, a little steel cable, so I wrapped it around the bed and put my gun in there when we were out on the water and anywhere else, and just left it in there.
Yeah.
So it was perfect, and that's a good way to keep a gun in your car. Limited amount of times.
Yes.
Don't store your gun in your
It's
car.
not for
No.
permanent storage. Don't do that. Range bag.
Range bag.
Yes.
Not a necessity, but
Yes, it is.
they are very helpful, especially because you put patches all over them. But they are extremely helpful. They have cool pockets to help hold magazines and guns, and they're bolstered at the bottom to hold heavy ammo and things like that.
So
but
can we back up for just a second?
yeah,
So when I said they are an absolute necessity, I meant range bag in general. What she's talking about right now is purpose-built
range bags.
range bag,
Yeah.
something that's designed to hold guns and magazines and carry the weight and all that stuff. We'll talk about the necessity of a range bag here in a second, but sorry.
And like you can use anything as a range bag. I mean, not anything, but I've
Any
seen
bag.
Any bag. I've seen people come in with reusable grocery bags or shoe boxes or tackle boxes. My favorite's the Milwaukee pack outs.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Or luggage bags, an old backpack. It doesn't matter. But you have to be mindful of taking a bag and bringing it onto the range and getting lead all over it. Especially if you have little ones at home that are crawling around on your floor, or if you don't take that home and set it on your kitchen table because it's got lead on it.
It's got
And
lead, yeah.
you dedicate a bag to the range because that's what you're going to take to the range. Therefore, you know you always have your things, which is part of the importance of having a range bag. Got your eye and ear protection, your magazines, your gun, your oil, and all the things that go in a range bag. It's really funny because we work at a shooting range. We always joke about this, that it's like, it's kind of weird. We don't like have a range bag.
Yeah.
I mean, like I do, but I rarely get into it because like, oh, I'm going to go shoot. So I'll just like pack
your
up a
desk.
couple things,
Yeah.
go downstairs. And I'm getting ready to go to this match a few days. And I'm like, oh crap, like I got to pack a range bag. And I'm like,
Well, yeah.
everything I need is upstairs.
It always scares me too if I go travel someplace and take a class.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to just
Having
all
everything
my
here.
stuff is here. When I need to shoot, if I forget something, I just walk back upstairs and grab it.
Yeah.
You don't have that option when you're, 30 minutes away or 3 hours away or whatever.
Yeah. That's a good point, Dima. Good subject for video items all range bags should have. So
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
it is.
that's a good idea. We'll get into that. Next, eye and ear protection. I grabbed like the first thing, so these are actually sunglasses, but they're still safety glasses. Eye and ear protection. Self-correcting mistake if you don't wear ear protection. That sucks. Eye protection isn't always thought about though,
No.
especially if you're outdoors somewhere. And it honestly kind of irks me a little bit when I see some of the YouTubers and stuff not wearing safety glasses. I just feel like they should lead by example and wear them because you only get 2 of these, and you're containing an explosion
They
in
don't
front of your
feel
face.
well.
It's just not worth it. Just put on some safety glasses. You don't look that goofy. It's
I
really
feel
worth
like
it.
I look goofy if I don't have them on and
Yeah.
I'm shooting a gun.
Oh,
it
yeah.
looks odd to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you don't know who Kentucky Ballistics is, he's a YouTuber, but he shoots a lot of very large caliber guns. And he was shooting this 50 BMG rifle, and he was shooting some very questionable
yeah.
rounds. So he knew that there was, it was a dangerous situation, but one of them ended up blowing up on him, and the whole gun exploded. And luckily, he was wearing safety glasses. The story is insane. You should definitely go watch it. But a couple of the pieces came flying back at him. One of them was the end cap of the rifle, and it came and hit his safety glasses. It hit it so hard, it broke his orbital socket, but he didn't lose any eye.
Penetrate his skull.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's because of the safety glasses.
Yeah.
So he also was squirting blood out of his neck, but he survived it because
Stuck a thumb in it. Honestly, I think he survived that because he had an insane desire to live and to overcome that. He literally stuck his own thumb in his throat, and to keep himself from bleeding out while his dad drove him and they met ambulance. It's a crazy story. Go watch it.
The video. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, and the way he talks about it, and like I said, the insane desire, the will to live, that's such an important aspect to have that resilience. But anyway, accessorizing. What else? There's a lot of things.
There is.
Just
and
looking
there's a
around the
lot of
store.
garbage stuff out there too. I mean, there really is. There's a lot of garbage. We see people come in here, like we were talking about flashlights earlier. He'll go to Walmart and buy an airsoft gun. What the hell was I reading? This is a little off topic, but it was one of the instructor groups or shooting groups we're in. Somebody said, hey, listen, I know a lot of you are instructors. You've been doing this a long time. You see some weird stuff. People showing up and saying, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I shoot all the time. Yada, yada, yada. And then they don't know what they're doing. That's right.
Usually.
And somebody showed up and was talking about how good of a shooter they are, and they do all this stuff and have all this experience, but they just got this brand new gun. They're not super good with it yet. It's a Glock 17. Instructor pulls it out of the bag, starts looking at it. It was an airsoft gun that somebody sold him as a legitimate gun. As a Glock 17. So this guy obviously had no idea what the hell he was doing. And he got taken for...
Wow.
Yeah. Somebody sold it to him as a real gun, and it was an airsoft gun.
How the hell does that work with the serial number and everything? Never mind.
You sell to your neighbor who doesn't know any better.
Oh, it wasn't at a... I got you.
Yeah, it wasn't at a gun.
Sorry, I walked away for a minute. I was not paying attention. All right, next.
Sure you're not blonde?
No, I am blonde. This is pretty blonde. It's natural. Blonde. 100% blonde.
I mean, I'm colorblind.
I don't know how that all works, but... Well, that's my sister.
I'm not that colorblind.
Some people just need to be slapped with a tortilla. That's a great idea, Gordon. All right, this is another thing. Trauma kit. Now,
Absolutely.
I need to clarify something. I don't carry a trauma kit on me just because I carry a gun. That's not it. In fact, there are way more dangerous things in life that this could be used for, aside from just the gun. I'm not expecting to injure myself with my gun or somebody else, but we keep these things everywhere just in case. It's a tool that's capable of traumatic blood loss. So I feel much better being my own first responder in any case that there could be traumatic blood loss, and keeping a trauma kit with you is absolutely something you should consider. Keep it in your range bag, keep one in your car, keep one at home, keep one on you. Like, as many as you can, I think is I just like it, having it everywhere, so that way it's available if I need it. So you do something very dangerous pretty much every day, driving your car.
Right, yep.
So whenever we had our Lady Sentinel building a trauma kit class last week, Vinny would always talk about, like, what do you think our most dangerous class is here? And everybody kind of like guess, and CCW and defensive one, drawn from a holster, and he's like, okay, what do you think the most dangerous part of that class is? Drawing from the holster. No, reholstering. And then he's like, nope, the most dangerous part is you driving to class or home from class. It's like, yep, that's crazy. So it was just kind of an interesting way to get people thinking about that, like, oh, it's the gun, it's the gun, it's the gun. And statistically, you driving to and from the class is more likely for you to have a bad accident. So we've actually had students on their way to and from class that have been in accidents that, like, oh, I'm not going to make it to class because I'm on my way to the hospital. So what else?
That's it. There's no more accessories.
Suppressors.
We talked about them all.
Suppressors.
Suppressors are freaking cool.
They're kind of cool.
They are very cool. Not very practical
No.
from an EDC standpoint.
They got some cool holsters to accommodate suppressors. It's funny. Cleaning kit, cleaning supplies.
Cleaning supplies, yeah, for sure, is something to consider.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta take care of your gun. It's like changing your oil.
A lot of people don't do that either.
No. Every 3 months, 3,000 miles.
That is not true.
What? Changing your oil?
Yes. Don't do that.
I know everything takes like fancy synthetic oil now, so you can go like 10,000 miles more.
I mean, yes, but
I think that's about it. I mean, man, we can go into making a battle belt and everything. So
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
Because I got a new one, and it's just sitting on the floor of my office, and I need to shoot a video with it.
So we'll make a video about building a range bag, and then building a battle belt.
That's it.
The world's our
We gotta
oyster.
go.
We gotta go.
We gotta go. It's 9 o'clock. We've been rambling for a really long time.
I'm just looking around.
There's so many accessories. Well, if you need any accessories, just come ask her what you should get.
I have one more thing. Be careful
No shit.
of adding. Be careful of adding accessories to your gun that say things like "ultimate decimator" or "pitter patter, let's get at her," like those sorts of like slogans that make you look like you're trying to kill people. Because I know that you don't mean it that way, but if you're going to be challenged on those things in court, just don't make yourself look like.
It's just one more obstacle you have to overcome
Yeah.
that you don't. It'd be very easy for you to not have to overcome it by not having the obstacle.
So I watched this video yesterday. It's from the armed
Do I need to
attorneys.
share?
Maybe.
Yeah.
From the armed attorneys on YouTube yesterday, and it was a great video. You should watch it. It was not what I expected. And they were talking about you should have a pink gun on you while you're driving. And I was like, what? And it was an interesting thing because sometimes in road rage situations, this messed me up. In road rage situations, you always envision someone waving a gun at you, like pointing a gun at you because they got mad at you or whatever. They said that it is so common, and they've had many cases this way, that instead of someone waving a gun at you or pointing a gun at you, they call the cops and say, this crazy person just waved a gun at me. And now I was panicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how easy is it for someone to call in a 911 and say, this person just waved a gun at me? And then they pull me over and see that I have a gun on me. And then I get charged with a felony. And now I have to go through the whole court process of trying to defend myself and prove that it's he said, she said. What the F? Like, I am like, that's terrifying. Because just yesterday I was turning into my son's school. I didn't, like this person behind me was just up on my butt, and I am so cautious about not bringing up rage in people when I'm driving because of the situation that happened to me a couple weeks ago. And this guy, I turned into the lot. There was nothing crazy about it. And I look back behind me and they are giving me the bird with all this anger. I'm like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. I never cut them off.
Yeah,
They've been
just
like,
driving down the road.
I just had to slow down and turn. And they were trying, I don't know. If they would have called the cops and then I would have gotten pulled over and they would have said that I had a gun and waved it at them, like,
So you're saying you have the gun, so when they challenge you on it, you get pulled over, you get your gun taken, and they go question them, ask them what color it was.
exactly. Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
You
Yeah.
missed that point.
Right. Oh, it was a black or a silver gun, because that's what they say 99% of the
yeah.
time. And it's like, well, I have a pink gun. And
I'd rather have orange. I'm not carrying a pink gun.
I agree. But my point is people are evil. This is the same thing as red flag laws. Red flag laws can be used in a very similar manner, and that's why they're so dangerous to our society. If you have somebody that gets mad at you, and they can call in to the police or the government and say, hey, this person shouldn't own guns, and then they get to come and take your guns without due process, that is so bad.
That's terrible.
And
scary.
That's like, sorry. Dorian says, I actually thought about that once. I thought it would make sense to have one shiny gun since most are black. chances are they'll say it's black. And that was kind of their point. Is
Yeah.
most people, if they're going to just say something like that, especially lying about it,
Yeah,
they're gonna
explain
say
to me
it's-
what it looked like when they were waving the gun at you. Oh, it's just, was it black? Was it silver? Was it, whatever? And oh, it was black. And then you've got this blue or orange or pink or whatever.
Yeah. So a
Certainly could be
whole nother reason not to make people mad on the road. Even if you're in the right, just let it go.
Freaking go.
It's
Yeah.
not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Even if you end up being right in court and you don't get a felony, the rigmarole you went through is
Screw that. Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks. So
All right.
that's
We're
all I
going
got.
away. That was nice and short. Good job.
Okay.
As always, if you guys have questions, just let us know. You can ask them in here. You can send us a message. If it's train related, send it to train@therangestl.com. If you have general gun questions, you can just message us here on Facebook or info@therangestl.com. Happy to help however we can, whenever we can. If you need something, come see us, 14803 Manchester Road in beautiful Baldwin, Missouri. 10 to 8, Monday through Friday, Saturday 9 to 6, Sunday 10 to 6. You guys stay safe. Be nice to one another.
We'll catch
you soon.
Toodles.
Later.
Oh no, slow connection.
Oh, we got to be awkward
more
while
awkward.
we're waiting for this thing to push